Hi folks, welcome back to Stacey Can Can. I am making some homemade mustard today, which can easily be preserved in a water bath canner when it's done, or you can just store it in the refrigerator. But this is another one of the DIYs, great for Christmas. It does take about 24 to 48 hours to do, but so you can squeeze it in before the holiday, if you would like, or you can just have it for yourself. So what we need for homemade mustard for this recipe, and there's a lot of recipes out there, but for this particular recipe, we're going to do two chopped onions, 2 cups of chopped onions, 2 cups of Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio. I'm doing a Pinot Grigio here. Yes, no, I'm doing a Pinot Gris. There you go. Or another dry white wine. You need a dry white wine. You need a cup of white wine vinegar with 5% acidity. Make sure it's 5%. A teaspoon of salt. I'm reading down my list here. 6 cloves of garlic, coarsely chopped. Make sure we'll have it coarsely chopped. 4 black peppercorns. We need 1 sprig of rosemary. A cup of yellow mustard seeds. These are these. Then you also need 1/3 cup of dry mustard, and 2 2/3 cups of water. Try that again. 2 2/3 cups of water. So let's get to chopping and assembling this.
Quick side note on some of the tools that we'll need for making the mustard after it's done setting for the 24 to 48 hours. You will need, you're going to need a spatula, you'll need your funnel, your jar lifter, lid lifter, because we will be heating up our lids, your Headspace tool, a ladle of some sort, a chopstick. I haven't grabbed it yet, but we will definitely need a chopstick because we will have to do a little bubbling. And then also either a blender or a food processor or this immersion tool. I'm going to be giving it a whirl with the immersion tool because my food processor doesn't have enough. I think mine's only a 5 cup and the mixture is more than that. So I'm going to at least start with the immersion tool before I can dump it all into the food processors to whiz it all up and make it mustardy smooth. So these are some additional tools that you will need. And if you'll notice, we don't need the big water bath canner because this makes about 4 half pints. So it's not huge, so you can just use your regular stock pot. So this is super simple. You don't need all this extra stuff, your big water bath canner. So let's get going. We got 1 cup, 2 cups. Poured in 2 cups of Pinot Grigio or another white wine. 1 cup of white wine vinegar, 5% acidity. Make sure you got that in there. A teaspoon of salt. We'll throw in our rosemary sprig here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 peppercorns. Chopped up, adding the 6 cloves of garlic, just coarsely chopped. You don't have to finely chop these.
So now I've got it up over high heat. We're going to bring this to a boil, uncovered. Okay, so we've got this up to a boil, and now that it's at a boil, we're going to reduce the heat to a simmer. We're going to simmer for 15 to 20 minutes until the onions get soft. We're going to do that uncovered. The onion and the mixture here, the first 7 ingredients have finished simmering. So when you're done and the onions are translucent, we're going to go ahead and strain this through a mesh container. And then we'll go ahead and discard the solids. From here, we will add the 1 cup of mustard seeds and the 1/3 cup of dry mustard, 2 cups of water, 2 2/3 cups water. I am going to give this a quick little stir here, just sort of mix it together. So now that we have it combined, you want to put it in a glass container, or you can do it in a metal container. I kind of like putting, because this has got vinegar in it and wine, I like to store higher acid foods in glass containers because they're non-reactive, unlike a metal container. So we're gonna go ahead and cover this, and we're gonna let it set for 24 hours at least, but no more than 48 hours. And then at room temperature, just cover it at room temperature. And then we will process it in a blender or a food processor and get it all mustardy.
Got my immersion blender right here, and also the overnight, this has been soaking probably about 36 hours is what I ended up doing just based on my time here. So, and it smells very vinegary, and if you'll notice, it's kind of pretty watery here. So all of the vinegar, the mustard seeds and such are at the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and just gently start to whiz it about. And just, oh, it's smelling really great. Just to let you know, this is we need to get it to the consistency of oatmeal. So this might take a minute or two. So the immersion blender, the handle started to get hot, the wand. So I'm switching. It got mixed up enough because you noticed before I started, it was very watery. The solid had settled to the bottom and the liquid had risen to the top. So I was able to mix it up really good. And now I'm going to go ahead and put it in my blender as much as I can. And we'll get it all whizzed up here. Done with the mustard, and I've poured it into this pot. It's about the mixture of cooked oatmeal. And we're going to set it on the burner here. We're going to get it up to, turn on the heat to high, get it to a boil, and then reduce it to a simmer. And we're going to simmer for 5 minutes before ladling it into a jar. All right, now that we have it up to a boil, we're going to lower the heat and just simmer it for 5 minutes. Mustard is done. Pulling the jars out from that have been heating up in the stock pot over here. Putting on our funnel. And we're getting in 1/4 of an inch headspace. That actually looks really good, but we got to make sure we bubble. So I am going to scoop around the edges there, just make sure we don't have any issues. Quick measure, we're doing 1/4 of an inch headspace. That's exactly where we need to be. Clean the rims really good. I can see mustard on the rims here, so you want to make sure to get these rims cleaned very good. Get your lid lifter out. Again, I've been heating the lids this time. I'm grabbing a ring here, giving it just a good little finger tightening, and then gently putting it into the pot. And repeat. I'm measuring to make sure we have over 1 inch of water in there over the top of the jars, which we do. We have almost 2 inches. So we're going to cover this, bring it up to high. Once it comes to a rolling boil, we will. Once it comes to a rolling boil, I'll go ahead and process this for 10 minutes. Got a rolling boil going, and I've set the timer for 10 minutes. The timer's gone off, so I've cut the heat, and we're gonna let this sit for 5 minutes before pulling the jars out. The 5-minute timer has gone off to let the jars set in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the jars out. Check that out. I think that's quite lovely. Nice little Dijon mustard color. Thank you for joining me today. My youngest, as I was jarring everything up, popped down and had a little taste of the mustard. He's like, "Mom, it's the best mustard I've ever had, and I don't like mustard. Can we have something for dinner with it tonight?" So now we're thinking of what to do for dinner with the little bit of the leftover mustard. I will show you. Super cute. A little bit of leftover mustard that I had that I just didn't have enough to fill up a full half pint. So I'm setting this aside for us. But thanks so much again. Thank you for joining me, and like and subscribe my page below. The recipe is also below. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, feedback,
inspiration, what have you, by all means reach out to me. I'm on Facebook at Stacey CAN CAN. You can at me on TikTok and Instagram at Stacey CAN CAN. My website is www.staceycancan.com, and my email is info@staceycancan.com. Again, thank you for joining me. This is a great little DIY gift for either yourself or for a family member. It's very, very tasty, and I really enjoyed canning with you today. And until next time, happy canning.